And I'm really excited about that possibility.
I love that. You're empowering little people. You're empowering children. Today we're in Seoul, South Korea, speaking with female millennial entrepreneur Gahmya Drummondbae. Gahmya, thank you so much for taking the time to meet up and talk to us about your life story. And I mean, we're traveling the world, hearing amazing women's stories like yourself. And I want to learn more about your journey from pre-entrepreneur to entrepreneur.
The journey. I love thinking about my journey because I started my journey watching other people's journeys. And sometimes there were people I'd never met, people who I would just watch from afar. And sometimes they were characters that I read in books, who I made like my unofficial mentors. And for me, my journey started when I was a child. My mom is schizophrenic. And so my journey started with a lot of labels. And for me, the label was of a person who was a caretaker and a person who had to make sure that everyone else was okay. So I became really in tune with characters in books and powerful women who I read about. And I would read about their journeys and take notes on their journeys. And sometimes I would watch other parents or teachers and even librarians, and I would imagine what their lives were like and what their journeys were. And so now when I think about where I started, I realized that as a child it was sort of a manifestation process, but I was just using my imagination, and that's what kids do. And now that imagination has connected me with my inner child, and now I'm a teacher. And I think that started with my journey of being so connected with who I was as a little girl and allowing that little girl to continue to fuel me as a woman.
That's such a beautiful story. So beautiful. And I can imagine you sitting in the library reading books. And it's so true. I mean, even now, I still look up to books sometimes. And sometimes my best friends are books.
Yeah.
My husband is too. But it's so amazing to submerge yourself into books and learn from the best, the people who've spent so much time doing what they're doing, or even in fictional stories.
Right.
How did the hero do his hero or heroine thing?
Exactly.
And what were the values and what were the principles and what were the learned lessons?
And I believe it's that inner child in us that allows us to connect with heroes. And I believe that all of us have a giant inside of us, and it takes a lot of bravery to allow that giant to come out, because it's really comfortable to kind of sit in your maybe 75% with your friends, because when you are your full self and do things, play full out in life or in relationships or whatever, some other people aren't comfortable with that. So they say, hey, why are you working so hard? Why are you doing so much? Come out and hang out with me. So we become more comfortable not being our giant selves, not being that superhero that we've read about, and having those characters, those fictional beings as unofficial mentors, and remembering those childlike qualities that we have. Mm-hmm. I think they continue to fuel us as women, as entrepreneurs, and it does for me. I have to remind myself, what did I like about Belle? Belle was my favorite princess, and I loved her because she was smart and she read books and she was unapologetic about that. And I constantly have to remind myself, even in my relationship sometimes, that it's okay to take off that comfort, that blanket of being comfortable that makes everyone else comfortable, and be the giant that I am. Because when you're comfortable playing full out, then other people see that and they want to play full out as well. And then maybe they'll take off their blanket of comfortability, and be giants. So that's my journey, and that's my walk. It's my journey and it's my walk now.
Do you ever put it back on?
Of course. I think we all do, because we have self-talk. And for me, when I told you that my mom's schizophrenic, that was a label. And I believe we all have self-labels that we have to kind of uncondition ourselves from having. And my self-label was, oh, I'm a Southern girl. Man, what do Southern girls do? Can they really be can they be stars? Can you be a celebrity as a Southern girl? Can you be famous? Can you be like a rock star in business as a Southern girl? Oh man, my mom's schizophrenic. I've never heard of that. I don't know anyone else who has a mother who's different. Man, what does that mean? Or I have to take care of my family. That's my label. I can't go out into the world if my family depends on me. So oftentimes I do still put on my blanket of comfort, and I comfort other people, and I allow them to feel that it's okay not to work hard like I work hard, what they believe is hard, not work all day or go out and travel the world. It's okay that you don't do that. And I think it's okay to do that, to kind of step back sometimes, as long as I know that it serves me to be my giant self. So I do that, and I learned to rework my labels, and I want to tell you how I did that because I think that's important. So when I was a kid, I had a because I can practice. And so it began with, because I have a schizophrenic mother, I can teach other people about schizophrenia. Because I have a schizophrenic mother, I can understand other people who are different. Because I have a schizophrenic mother, I can learn languages very easily. And I think when we do that, we empower ourselves emotionally, we empower ourselves in business. Think about all of the amazing things that you can do in life just based off of what happens in your household, that you learned, that you grew up with. Maybe things that you thought were your setbacks or the unfortunate cards that you were dealt are actually the stories that you're supposed to tell.
Yeah, they're the value that you have and the gifts you have for the world.
Exactly.
And I love that I can do this because of this. That affirmation and having those. Since when did it start? When did the affirmation start?
I want to say I started doing that maybe in high school, because I was very uncomfortable with I can't. Like, you cannot tell me I can't do anything. I can. And then I forgot about it, and then I started it again in business. I heard about a practice that some of my entrepreneur friends were doing, just figuring about ways to invest in their businesses more, how to make more money. And so one of my friends was just like, I'm going to make a list of all of the things that I can do to make money. And I thought, okay, but what if we took that a step further? Let's think about all of the things that you feel hold you back, right? Your labels. And then think about all of the ways that you can make money in business or expand your business because of that. What things could you do? Could you write a book about it? Who could learn from you? And then after that, I changed that to I will, and I will by this date, and I made it actionable. And that's another
that's awesome. Conversation. I mean, that is really great. I mean, because it is those things that hurt you or make you different that are or life-changing in a positive way. It doesn't have to be negative all the time. That makes you who you are and gives you a path to give value,
right?
And to then focus on yourself and see inside of yourself and see what's shining,
exactly,
what means a lot, and maybe something you might have want to run away from. That a lot of people probably are doing the same way.
Right.
You can really use that to your advantage and actually say, hey, it's normal.
Yeah.
And we can deal with it. Listen, I did it. Here's how I did it. Maybe you can take a flavor of it, and then move forward.
I heard something one time that said, the breath that you have is not yours for free. You have to give something to pay for that. You have to give to the world. You have to share whatever someone else is waiting for you to give. Because if you don't give it, they'll never receive it. And when I heard that, I thought, okay, I really have to share these things, because it becomes easier to just get a job and work for someone else than to play full out and step out in a vulnerable zone, and only trust me. Because the thing is, I always show up for other people, and that has always been the case. even when it was at my detriment, I would always show up. But I didn't really see myself succeed as quickly until I began to say yes to myself more often.
Yeah, making yourself number one is
Yeah.
it's quite important.
It is.
So let's sort of move forward to you become a teacher.
Right.
And then what happens? Because it seems that that was maybe part of the journey where it jump starts your entrepreneurial
Right.
things.
So I became a teacher in Korea, and it was just sort of a way for me to experience another culture, learn another language, and live abroad. And I thought, I'm just going to do it for a year and I'll go back home and get a job. And I love teaching, but I just felt like something was off. Kids weren't happy, a lot of parents weren't happy, teachers weren't happy. But I was doing well at my job. And I thought, okay, how can I do better? And why am I doing well? Mm-hmm. And so I started to build my own curriculum, but kind of sneak it in on the side, because in Korea, education is a big business. Around the world, education is a big business, but in Korea, even primary education is a big business. So I was sneaking my curriculum into someone else's business, but they loved it. Parents started to request it, children started to request it as well. So I made that my business, curriculum design. And then when I noticed that parents started saying to me, hey, you're not just a teacher. Stop saying that. You're more than a teacher. And I thought, well, what makes me more than a teacher? And so I looked at some of the things that I created, and I decided that I wanted to test them out in different countries. So then I would take my vacation times and go to different countries and just test them out. So I went to the streets of Bangkok, and the only thing that I carried in my luggage was just these theme projects, books that I made, and some crayons. And I walked along the street and saw some of the children who were begging with their parents, and I basically paid their parents money to allow me time with their kids, because of course I was taking their kids' time away from, getting money. And I sat down with them and taught them. And I remember there was this one little boy who called me and he said, hey, come over here and teach me. And I looked over there and I said, hey, you can speak English? He said, yeah, it's school break now. And I only come here when we're on break, and then I go to school. And he said, I want to learn that. Can you give me that? And I sat there with him and I thought, okay, this is beyond my little school, and I want this to be accessible to everyone. So that's when I decided, okay, I'm going to put it online, and I'm going to train other people to do this. And I want it so that anyone can learn. And it's not because your parents are wealthy or because you got a visa to study in America or Australia, which a lot of people do, but it's because you have access to internet. And not only that, I really want to create a social network so that people can meet up, and parents and different teachers can organize ways to teach different things to kids from my program to make it sustainable and also social and interactive. So that's what the business is now.